At Dave Cooper Live, we connect the industry leaders in the architectural, engineering, and construction space with the people, the products, and the processes to help them build it better. All right, welcome everybody to Dave Cooper Live. Today, we're taking you to the United Kingdom to meet with Oakrights, the builders redefining sustainable living. With over 25 years of experience, they've mastered the art of oak frame construction, combining timeless beauty with passive house standards for energy efficiency and low carbon living. From bespoke homes to outbuildings, Oakrights' use of natural fiber wood insulation and cutting-edge closed panel systems sets them apart. These homes don't just stand out, they perform. Joining us today will be Charlie Mills and Tim Crump to share how they're shaping the future of high performance and sustainable design. But we cannot do any or all of this without our sponsors and all of our supporting members. So a big shout out to Cobalt Creed. They are a cutting-edge small duct energy efficiency central HVAC solution for homes and businesses where space is at a premium. Whether you're looking at optimized comfort or energy efficiency, Cobalt Creed has the expertise to make that happen. If you are in this industry, if you're building walls and panels, I am telling you now, you need to look at this system. It is perfect for a factory environment. All right, shout out to these big sponsors here as well, and we will come back to you as soon as they're done. Forward Solutions Group is successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Are you looking to start a factory, optimize your existing factory, streamline your production, or take your team to the next level? Whatever your needs are, Forward has a solution for you. Reach out to Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. Halleck Ltd. has a long history of innovation in cold form steel manufacturing and producing innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the United States and the world. Check out their machine buyer's guide for off-site modular construction or fast build construction with light steel for framing. Go to their website, halleckltd.com. Brought to you by Greatech, one of the largest Autodesk partners globally and software developer of the PowerPack Advanced Design, Advanced Steel, and the StruxSoft product line. The complete solution to automate wood and light gauge steel framing, design, and documentation all the way out to CNC output, model, design, and manufacture with StruxSoft. Learn more at StruxSoftSolutions.com. All right. Again, thank you to all of our supporting members, to include all the supporting members you see scrolling across the bottom of your screen there. If you want to put your name there and help us out and keep this show unedited and live, well, we'd love to have you as a supporting member. So with that said, let's hop into today's show. Let's bring Charlie and Tim onto the stage. Charlie, Tim, how are you?
We're good.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, well, listen, first of all, I know it's later in the evening there, so I appreciate you guys taking the time to come on tonight. But I love what you guys are doing because I have not seen anybody doing panels or building houses in 300 years, at least here in the States, right? With oak framing. So looking forward to getting into this conversation. But first, we want to know everything about you. From the moment you were born to this very moment in time, do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we will have your family members on, and it will get embarrassing. But you only have a minute and a half to do it. Hey, Tim, why don't you start with you? Charlie, hop into it. And then we're going to talk about how cool Oakwright Homes is.
Okay, well, I was born on a farm, and I enjoyed making things when I was younger. Sporting, loved rugby, enjoyed rugby, and went on to become a carpenter. In Herefordshire, where we live, I was repairing old cottages. The sole plates would be rotted out. These houses would be probably 200 or 300 years old at least. So take the sole plate out, replace it. Went on repairing, building oak frames, and then building new oak framed houses. Carried on and built Oakwrights. Gently has grown over the years. So in a nutshell, that's my life.
For me, I was born in Portugal, lived in Portugal, England, and Spain for my upbringing. Then came back to the UK for university, and then ended up joining Oakwrights, and that's sort of my career path the last 12 years. Again, very sport driven, and yeah, love all things country. Hence where we're based.
I love all things country. Right, you sound like you should be in the U.S., man. We love all things country here as well. Well, super cool. All right, so we got a lot to cover today. I have some videos that I'm going to play while you guys are talking. I have your website and others. So for those of you just joining us, Charlie and Tim, Oakwright's Home, we're going to be talking about their manufacturing process, their panel process, passive house, sustainability, resiliency, all of those things that go into it. So let's hop in. First, I'm going to start with you, Tim. Okay. What inspired you to start Oakwright's Home? Like, I mean, were you just sitting around one day and said, yeah, I think I'm going to be a builder. Oh, then I'm going to open a manufacturing shop. Because, everybody opens a manufacturing shop's a little bit nuts, right? It's hard work. But go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, I think going right back, I started off in conservation work. So I would be in old buildings, which could be 300-400 years old. I can remember working on castles, so repairing castles. But you're up in the roof. You've got rat muck, pigeon poo, all the rest of it up to your knees in it. You're trying to cut out. But I remember in one old abbey, I was working there on the oak frame in the roof. I was a carpenter, absolutely beautiful structure. And I drew out a piece of peg. It's what we hold our buildings together with. So I pulled this peg. It was loose. I pulled this peg out of a truss. And I looked at the truss was there. And I thought, wow, this was about 500 or 600 years old. And I thought that I would love to go back and meet the carpenter who had driven that peg and cut that truss, cut the mortise, cut the tenon, and driven that in. And that was my inspiration for oak framing. And then gradually went on to repairing oak frames, but then went on to designing and building oak frame houses. First of all, additions to houses, and then freestanding houses. And really, that's where it went. So just gently, the business has grown. Business 25 years this year. And we're a family business, carpentry business. We love bringing youngsters on. That's us.
So walk me through the life cycle, right? You said, all right, well, I'm gonna start using oak construction. I'm inspired by that, a couple 100-year-old wooden peg that was put in and still standing. Well, you didn't just have a factory then, right? There was a process involved. You started out doing renovations, working on older buildings. Walk us through the evolution. And then at what point did you say, well, I think I can actually standardize this in some format and start a manufacturing facility?
So we started off, first of all, we were working on a farm, in a farm building. It was so muddy, we spent more time pulling the forklift out of the mud with a tractor so we could actually move the oak around than we did building oak frames. But gradually things progressed, we improved. And then I remember there was a point where we had sold so many frames, and I was promising people that we'd have their house there in 6 months' time. And I looked at the order book and I thought, there's no chance. I thought we will not be there in 18 months, let alone 6. But I'd seen a machine on the computer, a Hundegger, and a German machine. So I took a trip over and I took our our jowl post to our tie beam to our wall plate joint, which is the most complicated joint we do, really. And I said, look, if you can produce this joint on the machine, I think we've got a deal. So we sent over the model of what we needed. They did a sample and showed, yes, we can do that. So we bought the machine, got it installed into a building here, and then we created the biggest pile of firewood you've ever seen, because it took about 18 months for us to get to grips with this machine and get it going. It was disaster after disaster. And that was really the start of the true Oakrights.
Was formed. Charlie, tell me a little bit about the factory. You know, how big is the factory? Tell me about your team that works there, a little bit about the culture. Any company that's been around 25 years has a good culture. There's no doubt about it, right? Or the turnover will be significant. So go ahead, Charlie. I'm going to play some videos in the background while you guys are talking.
Yeah, well, size of what's the footprint of our we've got 5 units spread across 2 sites.
Yeah,
and we can see the sites, but where we started Oakrights to where the production facility is, we just didn't have the space to grow. So we are 145 people ballpark on the books, and that's everything from architects to salespeople to designers, production, site. When we're trying to keep everything in-house, so we don't outsource much at all. The culture is very important, and that's what we've spent the last sort of 4 or 5 years trying to maintain. You know, we've still got a lot of ambition to grow and to continue our evolution, but we felt it was important to like almost call time and say, right, we need to make sure that the culture doesn't change. It remains a family feel, and our 5 values are what everyone is hired and fired on. And right. I think that's important for where we've come from and where we're going, so it doesn't just sort of turn into this sort of corporate sort of blob where, it's completely different to where, Tim started off 25 years ago.
Yeah, and we're seeing where he started off 25 years ago with the old machinery and the tools, right? I mean, this is how you used to do it, I'm assuming.
That's it. Yeah, that is my workshop at home. It's still there. I still go up and play around in there. You wouldn't trust me to make too much for you now. I think I'm better off telling you how to do it rather than actually doing it myself. So yeah, that's at home. I live on a farm, so that is my workshop at home. Got
it. How many homes a year are you guys currently producing, and what is your max capacity?
At the moment, it's because of planning, we're doing probably about 40 to 50. If you look at our average on years gone by, we're doing 50 to 60 has been our historical average, and that's where we really want to get back up to for the oak framed homes. And then growing in other areas, so bringing in other parts, but 40 to 50 is our average homes at the moment.
I think they say when the rule makers overtake the risk takers, we're in trouble. And we've got lots of rule makers here, believe me. So we're desperate to build. We could probably build a capacity of about 70, 80 houses a year if we can gain the planning permission. The planning permission here in the UK is very, very difficult. It can take sort of about 6-7 months to get the surveys all together, to make an application, get the drawings together. Then we make the application, goes into planning. That can take sort of anything from 6 to 18 months, sometimes 2 years to gain planning for a house if it doesn't get kicked out by the planners. We would like to think we build beautiful houses, but you wouldn't think it. You wouldn't think it when you're listening to a planning committee talking about our housing. Oh my goodness, it's a challenge. So that is in this country, the government has said they'd like to build more houses, sort of 1.5 million houses in the term, which is great, actually fantastic. But the reality is, when you go back down to the actual committees and the policy, it's very difficult gaining planning permission. So that is our biggest challenge. If we could get the planning, we would just keep on growing.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that's a challenge everywhere right now, right? Is the planning and environmental risks and sustainability. I mean, there's so much regulation, it would take 10 years just to read it all. It's insane what's out there now. But all right, so here we are. We got the factory. I'm going to play a couple snippets here, right? This is, I think, leading into your factory. So behind you would be the factory, Tim.
There's the Hundegger. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So those are the beams that have all been cut on the Hundegger there. And so there's a panel making machine. So the panels run around the out. Historically, the panel used to sit within the oak frame. So it'd be like a wattle and daub panel back 100 years ago, made between the oak, the black and white as we imagine an old traditional oak frame to be. Now we build an oak frame and then we make a super insulated panel system that we run around the outside. So the oak frame is shown internally, and we always say what we can't give an oak frame is 150 years. As in the patina, the older it gets, the better it looks. And what we can't do is give it that, so it'll get better as it goes on. We would expect our houses to probably stand for about 300 or 400 years minimum.
That's it, really? 300-400 years?
Yeah.
That's a lot of years.
Roof.
Yeah, for sure. So talk to me about how the panels go out the door. Is it a kit apart? Are you doing volumetric at all? Or are you just doing wall panels? And is it an assembly process? Or is there still a lot of craftsmanship that has to happen on site?
Okay. Who's going to go? I'll go. Okay. So the panel is an enclosed panel. So we build the whole walls. Ideally, we want to build a wall of a house in one wall if we can. If we can get that onto the lorry and we can get that lorry onto the site, we will build a whole wall like the downstairs with the door openings, the windows. We'll install the windows into the panel in the workshop, and that panel will consist of an eye joist, which is the principal part of the panel.
Right.
Externally, it'll have a board. It'll have breather paper. We'll then have a counter batten, which our weatherboarding goes onto, or our siding goes onto that. We have to have a gap behind that for ventilation. Then on the inside, we'll have a board, and then we'll have a vapor control layer, and then another counter batten for our service void. And then we'll have is where the drywall will go on. On the oak frame, we will set a packer onto the back of the oak frame, and that packer is the depth of whatever the drywall is going to be. So say like an 18 mil packer for a 15 millimeter drywall. I'm not sure what that is in inches, but so when the panel comes up, we can then run all the cabling, run the pipe work, and then the drywall goes on. It'll go behind the oak post then, so the oak post will shrink and move, but the drywall will be behind the post, and your decoration or whatever, you won't get too big. The gaps won't open up too large. And so we make roof panels as well. So the panel, if we have a dormer window, we build the dormer window completely in the workshop as well, because while we don't get cold winters here, it's wet. Right. Most of the time it's pretty wet, so you're in the mud. It's not very pleasant. It doesn't get light very early. It doesn't gets dark early. So if we can build it in the workshop, it's a better job.
Yeah, well, it's always sunny and 70 in a factory is what I like to say. So and that makes it nice to work for sure. All right, so it's built in the shop. It ships out to the site. Are you guys the contractor as well, or are you selling to contractors? Who's the customer?
Both, really. The customer. So our customers will have bought a building plot. They may have a house on the building or buy a house. We will do all the architectural design work to knock the house down, design a new house, go to planning, gain the planning consent, and then we will do the building regulation drawings, all the code drawings, all the structural calculations, make the oak frame, make the panels. If it is within our range, where we work locally with about sort of 30 or 40 miles, we will send a team, we'll put all the groundworks in, dig all the foundations, do all the building, carry the project all the way through to completion. Elsewhere, say if we're up in Scotland or down in Cornwall or over on the East Coast, we will work with a partner builder. So they will put the slab in. We'll supply all the drawings. They will put the slab in for us. We will send a team out who will put the oak frame up, all the panel system on, the windows in, so really to dry shell. And then the contractor will do the fit out and finish off.
Let's talk about the sustainability side of what you're doing in the passive house side of this. How are you achieving the passive house standards? Walk me through. Like you gave me kind of the details on the wall. How thick are your walls? And do it in inches, please.
We'll do our best. We'll do.
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. Go ahead. We'll figure it
out. It's a 240. It's a 240 eye joist on the 240. That's 10. 9. It's just under a foot.
Yeah, right.
Wall.
About 14 inches.
Yeah, the roof is a 300. So the roof is a 12-inch deep panel, and that is filled with wood fiber insulation. So that's an insulation. It's called Styco. They make wood fiber insulation. They make I-joists there. They make all green natural products and natural insulation products, wood fiber board. We work with them, and that's what the panel is insulated with. And then they bring the panels together. There's gaskets as the panels come together, because our biggest challenge with oak frame, as you see the oak frame behind you there on the screen, when the panels go on the outside and they go together, on the inside of that corner, there's an oak post. So if they don't go together correctly, we cannot get to it to make it airtight. So we have to make sure they go together absolutely correctly. The joint comes together and it's airtight. Otherwise, because it's 0.6 for passive, and you've got a real challenge. So for oak framing, it just makes it even more challenging. But we have built and designed oak framed passive houses. That's what we love. That we love the idea of making houses that will be there for 300 or 400 years and cost very little to run. So with an oak frame, a timber frame panel system, wood fiber insulation, you are locking up so much carbon in that house that you are carbon positive. Really, you're a fantastic situation to be in.
Yeah, no, definitely. So over the years, walk us through some of the things that you've learned, right? Because passive house, it doesn't have to be hard, right? It's just a matter of getting that air tightness done. If you can, you don't need, you guys use triple pane windows and all that, but that's not necessary to just achieve that. It's all about the attention to detail. You guys do a high level, high quality passive house design, and the savings are given back to the client year after year after year, because they're not spending so much money to heat and cool their house. But in reality of it, I think you just said it, right? It's all about air tightness and controlling the environment yourself.
Absolutely. The air tightness is interesting. It is challenging, but it's about discipline and it's about passion. If you can find a team who are interested, and we try and bring all our foremen together, we go out and talk to the teams on site. We do training for how to apply the tapes on site.
Right.
Most of the taping in fence is done in the workshop, because the panels are made and put together. So where you get your OSB to OSB or plywood to plywood, it's all being taped in the workshop. The windows are going in the workshop more often than not always, but more often than not, so they can be all taped up while it's inside in the dry. But then the only taping on site really is the panel to the slab, and then panel to panel, but they're big panels, and roof to wall, gable to roof, and so forth. This is showing the turning table here. Because we're building closed panels, we would carry out all the work on one side and then flip the panel over so that we can work on the other side and fill the panel in. So Dan's there looking at it, ready to do fill it with the insulation there. So that's where. So it is about the team. If the team want it and enjoy it, it'll be fine. If they don't enjoy it or not interested, you've got a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. What are your competitors like in the UK? Do you have competitors doing similar oak builds such as you're doing and the way you're doing it?
In our dreams, we'd say no. It's all our market. It's a monopoly. We've got it. But no, there are other really good companies out there. We keep each other on our toes. As I would say, probably the principal. It's not a big market, David. There's about 150 oak frame houses maximum built in the UK each year, of which we're building about 40. So when the pie, we've probably got the biggest slice of the customers who want to work with us. If we want to grow, you're pushing into a market where there's somebody else's customer. They've got a relationship, and so it's real exponential energy. So we've been looking at moving out of our market we've been building this super insulated panel system, which if you don't think about oak framing, you don't come to Oakrights or our competitors, and you don't ever get to see the panel system. So we thought, well, this is crazy. We've got this brilliant panel system. We can build passive. Let's take that out to the market. And we've set a sort of a project up called Elements, which is Charlie's baby, and where you might have a nice oak truss. You might have some framework in your kitchen, perhaps your sunroom, but the main part of the house will be just the panel system. So that's really taking that panel system out to a bigger market is where we want to go.
Charlie, walk me through this elements, the panel system and what it is. How big, how long, how wide are the panels? You know, walk me through what that means, because everything we've been seeing and talking about has really been a timber frame structure, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing it with precision and making a kit of parts, but a panel system is much different. I want to know everything. Are you going to have utilities in it? Is it going to have MEPs? You know, no pressure, man.
Well, so, you know, going back to us and our competitors, the unique thing about us is we actually make our own panels, and there's no other oak framing company who are actually doing that for houses. So this is where sort of our panel system we have so much passion for. You know, as oak framers, we have passion for the high performance homes, and so the panels, you know, it's baby steps as we go. You know, modular. Modern methods of construction. You look at the Germans, such as Balfritz and things like that, what they're achieving, putting in the services and everything like, you know, just plug and play. Ultimately, might get there. You know, I built 2 houses now. The first one we did, we put the external finish where we could in the factory, in the production. We put the windows in. Site dependent, we can go 8 meters long and 4 meters tall, but again, it all comes around the design. Every design we make is a bespoke home. It'll never be built again. We'd like them to be built again, but you know, we're building 40-50 homes, but they're unique one-offs. So what we're leaning into now is the other types of framing. So, you know, as you can see here, the principal frame is the oak frame, which is still the main structure. So incorporating glulam on that basis. You know, we're working to spans of between 4 and 5.5 meters, right? Which is your bays. Well, suddenly bringing into glulams and steel, you can then have those bigger spans. You know, the contemporary, more modern vernacular. You know, they want these big open spans. They want these clean lines, and they don't want to see it broken up by oak frames and bays and limitations, right? So it's opening us into a market where there's more opportunity for style, but then efficiencies in the way we build our frames. You know, we're not having to think about how we work around an oak frame. Building in ventilation systems, we're already designing those in. So to start bringing that in, to start bringing in, you know, smart tech, home automation, all the rest of it, how that interacts with the environment. So it's just literally building on that. So.
Will it all be out of the same manufacturing lines, I guess, until you get busier and have to build more? How does that expand? Because I can see what you're starting, Charlie, hitting a completely different market than what you're originally speaking about. And would that be in a more affordable approach than the way that you've been building?
We'd like to think so. That's where we're trying to drive to. Only before this, we were sat down picking apart, you know, the costing sheet on some projects that we want to win. So for expansion, we're gonna have to expand at some point. What we are saying is squeezing the lemon, right? So we've got a facility there, and you know, if you actually say what could its full capacity be by maximizing the space and doing, you know, full shifts, you know, doing 2 shifts, probably not even touching 25%. So on that basis, you say, well, hey, unless you need more space to install the electrics, you know, the windows to start with, then we're okay where we are. But we have the opportunity to sort of go into the field next to us, hopefully, again, planning permitting.
Well, Tim lives on a farm. I'm sure he's more than happy to give up land on his farm too, right?
Absolutely. It's all down to the planners, but yes, it's there's plenty to go out there. We've got the space. The workforce is just under 150 at the moment. We sort of flip-flop under and over 150 people. I always say that we'll keep going until I can't remember everybody's name, and I think now I can, but not always on the same day. So it's a good team. We've got plenty of capacity there, and we can really push on from where we are.
So as you're growing this, do you guys only build in the United Kingdom? I mean, do you get into any other territories around you?
I think the closest we've got to yourself, Dave, is we built a frame in Mystique in the Caribbean. So we sent the frame out there. Unfortunately, they didn't want us to erect it, so we had to send it, and they erected the frame. We'd love to have gone on that little project. We send frames to Europe, but but really that's principally it. We are mainly UK based.
Sure.
We'd love
Sure.
to export more if we could.
How do you see the future trending for you guys with housing? Right, affordability is an issue all around the world, to include in the UK. Where do you see the market doing? Do you see it kind of just still skyrocketing, leveling out? What are you guys feeling over there?
I would say we're in for a challenging time, really, and affordability. So this is one of the idea elements where what we build, let's be honest, it's very, very expensive. It's going to be there if you take the cost against the longevity of the product, it's very, reasonable. However, the payment out now is a big payment. But with elements that Charlie's looking after, we can bring that cost down, so you can still get the look of the house, still get a fantastic product that's going to be there for hundreds and hundreds of years, but you will save some cost. We are never going to be super affordable, but what I would say is I think we're good value for money over the long term. Your children will want to live in the house we build for you.
I think, Dave, where things are going, and we've been approached by a company whose focuses on the carbon footprint of construction generally, and tying that in with carbon credits and stuff. Our push towards natural materials. There's scope 3 here in the UK, which is everyone has to sort of quantify their sort of the footprint of their operation and the products they're creating. There are large organizations who are committing to not using things like PIR, we call it Kingsburn. What's
the foam insulation.
Foam insulation, right?
Stopping foam insulation. We don't want to use foam insulation.
Stopping foam insulation for all sorts of reasons, right?
Sure.
So I feel like we're already ahead of the curve in terms of that natural push. And I think, just as things come around in terms of the performance of the homes and the sustainability and the footprint, I feel that is where it'll ultimately go. We're being approached by sort of, several companies now to sort of explore that with different sort of opportunities and different types of material as well. So, that's our sort of next step, I'd say, is facilitating that, because we've already done it and a lot of people haven't. So it's, passing on our learnings and facilitating, new opportunities.
So, I mean, it's interesting. So you mentioned, the carbon credits. I was over, that's where we met actually at a company, Homematics, launch over there. And the idea that you're already building to the standards they're talking about to get those carbon credits, right?
Yeah.
And based on the materials that you're using within your home, you can lower the overall cost of your mortgage or your financing of your home, with this system. And I do think that's going to put you in a very unique position compared to others who aren't paying any attention to it. And they're going to have to rechange and rework everything they're doing to meet the standard versus already be there and get the credits for it. Am I on course here?
Hey, the carbon market at the moment is still a bit like crypto in the fact that it's not got a central governing body right now, but they're working hard to create that. So there are a couple of markets, but you're completely right. If the fact that by building better can give you more credits to then make it more affordable, that's going to be the way that, we ultimately get the best homes for people moving forward. And that will have a better impact on the environment, less energy usage, and just, hit all the targets that we need to achieve, as the whole world.
It's a bizarre thing that building houses with natural insulation material, which we've been doing for sort of 20 years now, really, and sustainable construction is something we've always gone for, energy efficiency, and it's just what we've done in our own little world. But now it's all sort of coming to us. You're getting these companies who are sort of trying to push and do, and you're just thinking, hey, it's just what we do. You're making it sound all so exciting, and we've been doing it for years. Come on, we'll show you what we do. Come have a look.
Yeah, I mean, there really is no secrets. I mean, it is what it is, right? It's hard to recreate what somebody else has spent 25 years perfecting. There's a lot of lessons learned there. Hey, and who knows? Maybe if Oakrights builds, the majority of all the structures in the United Kingdom moving forward, maybe you'll have less rain, right? Maybe that carbon footprint pays off for your neck of the woods, since a little less flooding going on over there.
We could do with less rain at the moment, believe me.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the legacy, right? And the culture. See, I travel the world going to all these manufacturing facilities, and the best manufacturing facilities have a culture like none other. Talk to us a little bit about your team. I know you have, roughly 150 members on your team. What is kind of the culture behind it, your mission?
So
what do they buy into other than you're nice guys?
Yeah, it's you often think about we're out in the countryside. We're on the scale, we're about sort of 4 hours from London.
Yeah.
And so we're called out in the sticks. For you, it's probably just around the corner, but for us, we're out in the sticks.
Yeah.
And for youngsters in this area, we thought unless they want to go off to university, go to the big city or whatever, what sort of jobs are they going to do? It's either agriculture. Well, just about agriculture, there's not much else around this area. So with what we do on the carpentry side, we thought we really need to. I love it. I'm not very well educated myself, but I do love education. I love bringing youngsters on. And so we set up what we call our academy. And with our academy, we give so we found that sometimes youngsters go off to uni, they don't like it, they come back, they don't know what to do with their life, but they're quite smart. And I say, well, come along and work for us. We'll run you through each department of the company. So you come on, you could start in the oak framing shop. Then you go out onto site working. Then you go into the panel making shop. Then you go into the design studio. And after you've gone 3 months in each department, we'll find where do you fit and give you a start, and you can work your way through. Our head of frame design started on the shop floor, has worked his way through, runs the framing department. We've got chaps been with us for. Well, we've got chaps been with us 20. Some of the chaps been as long as I've been there, 25 years, and they're still here with us with the company. But so we're getting older, and we need to find the youngsters to bring those youngsters on, train them, and teach them, so that we can create a workforce that can produce the houses, going forwards. And it's great to see. There's nothing more pleasurable than getting a youngster in. And we've got one young lady now. She is going off now to go and travel the world. But she came along. She said, "I like the look of what you do." I said, "Okay." So we're chatting. I said, "So what are you doing?" She said, "Well, I'm a beautician." I said, "Well, okay, come and start." And she's now a fantastic frame designer. But she came as a beautician, and she just liked the idea and look of what we do. She started. We've trained her. Absolutely fantastic person.
That's well, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It's about appreciating what others bring to the table. So I'm going to pull up some of your projects here on your website, just because I want people to see this while we wrap up, and some of the things that you do, to include, I mean, some of the barns. Come on, I want a barn home, right? Barn dominiums are in.
Oh, I think there's a few boys over in the States who could do that for you, Dave, as well as we can.
Yeah, look at that. And, the other thing is when you're using, a timber frame, this is almost a mass timber, and the way I see it, with just the framing itself, you can get those spans, Charlie, that you were talking about, those big open spaces, and it's funny over here, it seems to change all the time. Like every 20 years, people want big open spaces. Then they don't want big open spaces. They like all their little separations, but you can't get like, if I look at this, when you say the oak framing is exposed, that's the oak framing exposed. And you're telling me that behind that is the insulation. The sheetrock runs behind it, so the framing can expand and contract like we know wood does, with the moisture and, heat, cold, and moisture. So, I mean, where that frame is, that's like 20 inches thick. Just where, right? Because you got another 12 inches behind that.
Yes,
board.
Exactly. It's a thick wall. It is a thick wall, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Talk to me about what do you build the most of? I know they're all one-offs, but is there one thing that you do more than anything else?
There's a model there called our Wood House. Somewhere will be on there somewhere for you, Dave. Now that's our show home. Along that stuff, we build big glazed gables. Is our trademark, and then. So the houses, if you say the size of the house, and I can probably do this in feet actually, would be around about 2,800 to 3,500 square feet would be the sort of standard size of our houses. Our bread and butter. Yeah. Our bread and butter. That's the principal houses that we do.
So if you click, Dave, on that first image there, or just look in those top two, there you go. So that central glazed gable, that would
Oh,
be a
wow.
very, and there you
Let me
go
blow
on the
this up
far
for
left there.
people.
So that's an inspiration, that one, on the back of the show home, the wood house. So
Wow.
with adaptions. So
Look how beautiful that is.
Yeah.
Well, I do hope you come to Pennsylvania, somewhere near Pittsburgh. I could use a new studio that looks like this. So
We'd love to come and build one for you.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
be good fun. Be good fun.
yeah. So and here it is. I mean, you got a whole inspiration page full of stuff, and I mean, it's clear that you guys have been at this a long time. I'm sure the further I get in, the less megapixel the photos are, right, from what it was 20 years
whilst
ago.
you're on here, so on this page too, so you've got the stairs on the bottom left. Well, if you just go up one,
Yeah.
this is the first passive house here. Sorry, down.
Stairs.
Yeah, sorry, keep on. So at the bottom of the screen here, and then this, and then
right here?
one up, yeah, there you go. So that's the first passive house we have built, actually certified passive house.
Okay.
Up in North Yorkshire, that was. So we're aiming to achieve passive, sort of the passive ethos in everything we do. But it's up to the clients whether they actually go forth and sort of get the formal certification. But that was the first proper passive house, properly certified. So,
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's gorgeous.
So I think the future of construction for both the UK and the US, I think there are lots of companies striving to build better and to build houses that people will be proud to pass on to their children. They're not going to be ripping them down in 30 years. They're just going to look better as time goes on. And I think that's great to see. Unfortunately, they are expensive. To build to that standard is expensive, but we are creating homes that will be there for generations.
Well, hey, listen, if Homatics and other companies get this carbon credit going,
yeah,
they may not be as expensive as everybody thinks moving forward, right? Especially if you take this craftsmanship. When I look at a staircase like this, right, there's some serious craftsmanship and work that goes into making those angles, those cuts, and having it look beautiful. But if you can do a lot of your work in a processed environment versus crafting out in the field or without the automation, without the Hundeggers and all that, then you can drive costs down because your labor costs go down. And then you add the carbon neutral credits and so forth. It could become a win-win for you guys.
Yes, we're hoping so.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so as well. We need more housing around the world. Too many people are living on the streets, right? We got to do something. And we all have our markets to play in. And the fact that you're playing in a we would consider that a luxury market, for a lot of customers, but you bring somebody like Charlie in who's younger than you and I, and he goes, all right, well, I have a better idea because what we're doing here is great, but we can actually help this market as well by doing a more processed approach. So I love it. And I love the fact that you're open to that.
Absolutely. It'd be great to see more young people be able to afford the houses to come in and get onto the ladder earlier, because as they start off, once they've lived in a sort of a house with some oak framing, they'll just carry on going. And when they move on, the next house will be a bit bigger. The next house will be their dream home and so forth. That's
the idea. I love it. Hey, listen, when I travel Europe, man, everybody lives in their parents' house, their grandparents' house, right? That's a tradition for a lot. Is there anything, Charlie and Tim, we didn't cover today? Time goes by fast. Fast. I think you've done it, Dave. You've guided us through the whole story of oak framing. I think that the wonderful thing is when you see the forests out there. I went out to France and you see a lovely forest and the beautiful trees they're cutting. But those trees, it's a pity to cut them down. But we bring those trees, we turn them into a house where that tree might live for 120 or 150 years. We're creating houses that will be there for 200 or 300 years. So we're tying up that carbon in our houses. So taking that oak tree and building a house that will stand there 300 or 400 years, tying up that carbon. I think it's a great place to be. And as I say, bring the youngsters on, train the youngsters. Get them going. The workforce is super important. And like I said, you give them sunny and 70 in a factory environment, they're going to be more apt to come to work and show up. But then you give them automation and BIM and all these cool tools to use. right? Now you start dialing in. They'll never even have to be in the factory. They'll probably be able to control all that stuff from their Xbox controller or something.
Yeah,
You know, that's how they fly drones.
Workers.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to make a note. I never heard anybody explain it that way. You're right. An oak tree lives 100, 150 years. You're extending that lifespan by 2, 3, maybe even longer. People take care of the structure. And that's where you start gaining that carbon credits and, you really start decarbonizing things. I love it. Gents, thank you so much for taking time this evening to be on the Dave Cooper Live show. We appreciate all of you. For the rest of you out there, it's Wednesday. You still got 2.5 days to build it better. So stop watching me at this moment and go subscribe first, but then get back to work because there's too many people that are not living in houses. We need to be more sustainable. We need to be more resilient. And we need to say a couple prayers for everybody that is dealing with natural disasters and, as in England, floods. So if you can help out, help out. We appreciate each and one of you. So Charlie, Tim, don't go anywhere. I'll come back to you after all of you out there take a look at these supporting members as well. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.